since that was less than impressive, I'm going to equal that with a pirate joke. How much does it cost a pirate to get his ears pierced? A buck an ear. What did the pirate say when he turned 80? That's close. I'm 80. Yeah.
Get off the stage.
Woo! All right. Everybody caffeinated? Everybody ready to play? I don't know what you've heard, but the whole front, this is not like Blue Man Group, right? Where if you're in the front rows, you get kind of messy. This ain't like that. Anybody been to Blue Man Group? It's a good time. You should go, but if you sit in the front rows, you get ponchos, I think, if you're lucky. All right, so we're here to talk about new ways to play and why you should care. Your attitude determines your direction. On your tables, each and every table, I think there should be some, I was going to say souvenir, but you can keep it. You're welcome. Not what I had in mind, but a survey. And I want you to take just a few moments. This is a silent activity. Take a few moments, kind of introspect, think about how what you believe as it relates to learning new things. Okay? If you don't have one, raise your hand. Okay, just take a few moments to do that, and we'll get this party started. And it will be a party. You're all invited. Wrapping that up right about now. All right, quick introductions. Those of you that have been here previous days, you've seen me talk. I'm Chris. Last name is Dunn, Chris Dunn. When you put them together, it sounds like that. Not Kristen. When I have phone calls and they're like, yeah, this is Chris Dunn. Kristen? So you can call me that too, that's fine, I'm good with that. But I've been working on that for a little over 7 years now. I have over a decade of Agile experience, and I'm one of the Agile coaches here that serves you guys.
And my name is Terry Alley, and I work in the Highland Branch office, and I'm the Scrum Master for the Con 3, also known as Phoenix Team, and the Con EA27 on onboarding team. There's my homies. And I've also been working in the Agile space for over 10 years.
So I want to introduce myself again, because you got to. So Terry and I last year went to the Agile Alliance conference in Orlando, Florida, and one of the sessions that we went to, kind of by happenstance, they had a lot of loud music, and it seemed like a lot of fun. I had no intention of going to that, but it kind of sparked some interest for Terry and I to think about different ways that we learn and what makes learning stick, right? What makes learning, how do we hold on to that learning that we've got? Because I think Many of us have a similar experience that Dilbert does. We go off to some training, right? You come back, maybe it's a 3-4 day training, you come back with this really cool binder. It's got a nice picture on the front probably, maybe even some tabs if you paid a little extra money for it. And then you're asked, what was the 1 or 2 things that you got out of that? You're like, well, I got this binder, right? There wasn't a whole lot of maybe there was a lot of content presented, but you're like, dude, was I asleep? I mean, what happened in that training? I'm sure it was good and you paid a lot of money for it. It was probably pretty valuable, so hopefully there's a lot of good stuff that I'll find in this binder. Anybody have an experience similar to that? I think you're being honest. I'm not sure you're being honest yet. Okay, there we go. We got a few of them. I think we can all relate to that a little bit, right? The opposite of that, do you guys recall some trainings that you've been to? Maybe it was in, maybe you remember an elementary school teacher or a high school teacher, or maybe in college, or maybe some professional training where you're like, you kind of go back to that. Why can't this class that I'm in today be more like that? Anybody have an experience like that? And what about the learning in those experiences? Do you still kind of connect with some of that learning? Yeah. What's that? How you doing?
We still get to play with the Play-Doh.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Good morning. It's good to see you. So apparently we have hecklers. But what was unique about those trainings for you? That's a question I'm looking for answers from you guys. What was unique about those trainings? What made it so impactful for you?
Engaging, entertaining.
Yeah, it was engaging, entertaining. What else?
They related it to real world kind of experiences versus
Yeah.
just talking theory. They kind of gave you examples of here's how it's worked in the past.
Yeah, you can connect with it and go, okay, I can see how I might be able to use that, right? What else might be true in those types of probably hands-on? Yeah, pretty tactile. Yeah, a lot of different things that we'll talk about that, and hopefully demonstrate. And hopefully you've seen some of these things through some of the other sessions through the last couple of days. We'll talk about some of those techniques and why they stick, what makes them so powerful for us.
And well, Chris, also, I know you've been working on your agile coaching, so I think we're both very passionate about learning and continuing to learn. So that's another reason why we're doing this session together. So why is it important to continue to learn? Today, in the day of information technology, the information changes rapidly every few years. And so it's important, especially for employers and on a personal level, for you to stay up with the latest trends in technology. So it's also important because that lifelong learning is valuable. I mean, you can't always put a price on it, but it's valuable. And what's interesting is we are always having to learn, whether it's business or personal. Take your cell phone, for example. How often do you have to teach yourself all the new features when you upgrade your phone? Or in my case, how often do you have to have your kids help you learn to use Snapchat or social media? So it's important to keep learning because, and if you have a positive attitude toward learning, then you're a little more relaxed, you're focused, and then you're able to absorb that information even better. And then when you have that sort of confidence and in that learning opportunity, then it just opens more doors and you're more open to that, and hopefully it'll increase your ability to learn and your attitude toward learning. So let's go back to the questionnaire that you all did a few minutes ago. And look at how many check marks you have. You can share if you want, but if you don't want to, it's okay. But what I'd like to do is have you take a close look at some of those statements that weren't checked off. And ask yourself, or even you can share with the group, but it is more of a self-awareness question. What is it that you can do to get all these boxes checked? And if you didn't check them, what are you going to do in the future to help increase your learning? Anyone want to share? No? And how can you find out what you need to do? Like if you didn't check one of the boxes, how can you find out what you can do to increase your learning? Go ahead.
So I checked quite a bit of them, except for I take charge of my own learning, because I think, oftentimes I'll write something down like, hey, this is a cool idea, and then, hi everybody. One of the things I didn't check was that I take charge of my own learning, because, you see something, you think, hey, that's a great idea, I want to pursue that more. You oftentimes write it down, and then you get too busy, right? So I think maybe something I can do to better change that is like set a hard, really a hard deadline or just something to say, hey, no, I'm going to be out and I'm going to be doing this, and actually make it a priority, otherwise it never happens. So,
Yeah, make it a priority, invest in yourself.
Good point. Thank you. Anyone else?
I find it a little hard to practice new skills, because a lot of times we're so wrapped up in day-to-day stuff. Past jobs, there was more experimentation encouraged. Things tend to be a little bit more locked down now, and it's harder to go out and find some things that you can apply to your day-to-day work. At least I find that. So the things that I have not checked were the bottom two, and that's kind of the reason.
How many of you go out on the learning portal and do some self-learning? Everyone know where to find that, right? Okay.
How many of you use Wikipedia for your primary source of learning?
It's actually, I usually go right in the bottom of the links.
Yeah. Smarter than the average bear. Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you guys for sharing. We're going to get into a little bit about, just kind of close that little piece there. It's about priorities, making it important, continuing to learn, continuing to grow yourself, and not only, betters you, but it betters the teams that you work with, right? Because you're able to bring that knowledge into the group that you're participating with, right? So keep it going, make it important, make an investment. So we're going to get into, there's a science called brain science, and oddly enough, it's about what goes on in the brain, and it's a science, right? So they talk about, there's been books written about this stuff and like what makes learning stick. One of the resources that we looked at was by Susan Bowman, and she hits a point about the 6 trumps. Now, you'll notice the card deck, that card deck, we've all played, I think most of us probably played cards, and this is where one trumps the other. This is a little bit better than the other. The one thing that I want to point out is that traditional learning methods are not to be thrown away, but there are some other methods or ways to approach learning that will enable the learning, enhance the learning, and the idea is to help make it stick and hit some of the points that you guys talk about when we open up the session. So the first one is moving trumps sitting. And what moving does, you've probably seen that a little bit in some of the sessions already, but science tells us that after about 15, 20 minutes, a whole lot of oxygen is not being pumped to the brain, which decreases our capacity to learn. And so taking small breaks, getting up, moving around, if you have one of those standing desks, it's a good idea to do so, not just because it's good for your health, but it's also good for the brain to enable you to do your best work when you're in the office. So moving trumps sitting. Get up and move periodically. The next one is talking trumps listening. When you talk about a concept that you just learned, you process it 3 times. You heard it, you process it, you think about it, and then you reiterate that information in your words, right? And so you've heard the phrase, or I don't know if it's a phrase, but when you can teach something, right? It's really there. You really connected with that topic, right? So teaching it, a lot of your leaders might have you teach a concept to your peers, because that helps make that more concrete for you. So talking trumps listening. Images trump words. Now you'll notice on many of our slides, we don't put a whole lot of words there for different reasons. One of which is I want you to listen to me versus reading the slides. Not that I have that kind of ego, but I want you listening to the words that's being spoken, right? And we tend to do that just because it's there. We're like, and so you read that for 2 or 3 minutes, so you've missed about 2 or 3 minutes of what the speaker is talking about. There's also been studies that show that I saw a demonstration of this where they had an image and a list of bullets that would represent what was in this image, right? And they would do this first by showing this list of bullets, and maybe it's 20 bullets, and they'd flash it on the screen for about a full second. And then ask the audience, invite the audience, and what did you get? And you might get 2 or 3 or 4 things, right? That kind of hit you. And they're usually not quite the same words, but close enough to where you can say, yeah, that's probably it. And then they flash an image that they took all these descriptions from, and you would get a much richer conversation as a result. Our brain has a great capacity to process information through an image, more so than processing words, right? Writing trumps reading. Writing information, it's a whole brain task. It's multisensory, kinesthetic, visual, spatial, and tactile. You think about when you are in a lecture, or you guys are doing some of this right now, when you take note, right, the act of reading kind of makes it more. How many of you will take a note and you never look at that note, but it's kind of stuck for you? Yeah, I'm the same way. It's really weird how that works. But they're kind of modeling this trump right here, writing trumps reading. Reading it, it's okay. You're processing that information, but it's kind of like speaking it too. It makes it a little more concrete. Shorter trumps longer. The image that comes up for me is the Ferris Bueller, right? The instructor, Bueller. And it's just drones on, and I'm sure we've all sat in classes, whether in college or whether it's professional training or whatever, and you sat there for 2-3 hours, and then you're begging for a break. But probably that last hour and a half, if it was a 2-hour session, you didn't get a whole lot. Because you start fidgeting, you're uncomfortable, you've got the brain, the oxygen stuff that we talked about earlier. But your mind has wandered off into all these other things that has nothing to do with what's being spoken about. So build your learning. If you're developing curriculum, build your learning in small chunks, right? And then have activities that help make those chunks of learning more concrete for the learner. And the 6th trump is different trumps same. For different trumps same, change the learning environment, right? Change it up. We have, when everything is the same over and over, if it's routine, it starts to become monotonous. We start to shut down, our mental capacity kind of shrinks, right? And so our learning isn't as rich as it could be. So change up the learning environment where you can. And that might mean simply changing the frame, meaning, I might have this side of the room move over here, and I'm doing a couple things. I'm moving trump sitting, But I'm also changing up. People are like, what am I doing? Nothing, I just want to do a little over here, right? And it's a little goofy, and so it kind of resets you to get into the next chunk of learning. To model different trumps same, Terry's going to walk us through something I think very different. Yeah? You guys ready for different? I mean, really, are you ready for different? All right. We'll see how ready you are.
So like Chris said, to reinforce what he was talking about, what I'd like you to do is take a blank sheet of paper at your desk or table and write down 2 things that you've learned so far just from this morning's session. And make sure it's safe, that it's something that you want to share with someone else, like maybe talk about Chris's jokes that are so horrible, or groaners, as my kids call it.
I'm actually okay with that.
So something safe that you're willing to share, because we will share these with the partner. Okay, so 2 things you learned just in this short session this morning. Don't overthink it. It's just a quick exercise.
And by doing this, what trump does this exercise? What's that?
Writing trumps reading.
Yeah. You can write that. That was free.
Free one. Anyone not done? All right, so what I'm going to have you do is stand up.
Stand up.
And what trump does this reinforce?
Movement. Trumps.
Moving trumps that thank you.
Standing. Yeah. What did I say?
What we're going to do is have a little bit of fun with that paper that you just wrote down your answers on. We're going to crumple up that paper.
Just crumple it up.
We're going to have somewhat of a virtual snowball fight. So with that piece of paper, yes?
Can I make mine into a paper airplane?
No.
So what you're going to do is crumple it up
Follow
into
the
a
rules,
ball.
dude.
You're going to find someone or a target that you want to throw your paper at. And you can do this 3, 4, 5 times over when I say go. But when we're all done, everyone should end up with a ball of paper that they can share those answers with everyone else. Okay?
So how about if so you guys understand the rules? Be kind, first and foremost. I mean, don't put like, I shouldn't even say this. But don't put the, like the Play-Doh in the middle of it, make it nice and thick. Somebody's like, oh, good idea. But everybody at the end, I'm going to count down from 10. Everybody at the end needs to have a sheet of paper in their hand.
Ball of paper.
And don't throw it at me or Terry. All right. Ready, set, go. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. All right. Everyone have a sheet of paper? I know not everyone does, because I have
Right
one.
here, Chris.
All right, go ahead and sit back down. So, all right, a little bit of fun. It's certainly different from saying, has anyone done an exercise like that before? And this is only my second time, right? So a little bit different. But we want you guys to take a look at the learning that you received, the gift that you received from one of your peers here. So we're demonstrating a few different trumps, right? We did standing, or moving trumps sitting, writing trumps reading. Certainly different trumps saying. Did anyone get the same thing? Did they receive the same thing that they wrote down?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Want to share?
Yeah. You got yours back? How about, did anyone receive something where they're like, dude, was I asleep? Right? You're like, I didn't hear that.
Oh, it's blank.
Oh, it's blank.
I learned nothing.
You got something where you're like, where was I?
Yeah, so one point noted here, it says, don't put words on slides or people miss out on time spent listening.
That was images trump words. Images, right? Images trump words. Yeah.
But
So,
I didn't understand, or I didn't think of it.
because you were reading the slide, right? So you missed out on everything I said. So you're welcome. See how that works out?
And that would be talking from, so it could apply.
What else? Anybody have anything else that was of interest?
This was something we learned the other day. It says time spent playing and designing prior to the fixes of work.
Which session was that? It wasn't this one. We didn't do any planning. Thank you. Yeah, I forget which one that was. Yeah, I think you're right. All right.
So, I hope people had fun just from that little exercise. So learning can be fun, and learning can be fun every day. Something that Chris and I found in our research in preparation for this session is we found a quote by one by the name of Judy Willis. She's a neurologist and a classroom teacher. And it was a really good quote that I'll share with you, and we'll get into the next exercise. So the highest level executive thinking, making of connections, and aha moments are more likely to occur in an atmosphere of extraordinary discovery, where students of all ages retain that kindergarten enthusiasm of embracing each day with the joy of learning.
So, you guys ready for the next activity? We'll see about that. How many of you like to sing? Anyone? I'm not going to ask you to sing yet. Yeah. A few of you like to sing? How many of you, I'm sure we've got quite the range of music preferences in here. But who are my rappers? Who likes rap? Come on, don't be shy. Yeah.
All right.
You're my dog. Yeah. So you guys remember who raised their hand? You might need their help here. So, we are about to embark upon an activity that requires some props. And we have some for you. Don't be jealous. We're going to embark upon, what happened? And have you brag about it. Right? Can't wear both glasses at the same time. So, those of you that remember who our rappers are, right? Now, what we're going to do in this exercise, so you guys can group up, you can do whatever you need to do, but however you group up, those are your people. That's your posse. That's your rap group, whatever word you want to give it. Those are your people, right? And so don't do anything yet, but we're going to have you get together in a group, and you guys are going to write yourself a rap. Okay? I'll put on some music to get the mood going. We also have some props just like these, because I know I see the envy in your eyes, even through these. These were really dark though. Barely see you, which is better. No. And let's see, what are we going to do? We're going to write, of course, this is an Agile camp, so we're going to write a rap that is centered around Agile. Okay, we've got some teasers on the table to help you with some words if you're not very versed in Agile. So we've got the values of the Agile manifesto. You've seen that a couple times. Doing Agile versus being Agile. The Scrum values, Kanban values. So these are just helpers. Don't limit yourself to these helpers. If you've got a great deal of experience, pull those in. Okay? You guys get the deal? We're going to write a rap about Agile. I mean, there's not a whole lot of that out there in the wild, so we need to add that to iTunes or something. But we do have some rules. We absolutely want you to have fun. Okay? However, keep it clean and professional. I was looking for some hip-hop music that's clean, so I could play that if you guys walked in. I had to go back to like 1982. We're going to give you about 5 minutes to prepare your rap, so you're going to be time boxed and crunched, and I know you guys are super creative people, so use your collective creativity, build yourself a nice, cool rap. I'll put up some music so you guys don't kind of, feel it, because sometimes it's about the emotion, it's about the feeling, right? Says the guy. This guy, right? And the best part about it is that we're going to ask you to perform if you're so inclined. We're going to ask you to perform. We'll help you out. Okay? You guys ready? You guys need music? Okay. What's that? Yeah. We had 98.3% participation. Those are very solid numbers. You guys, let's get to 99. All right, we're going to start our time box now. Here.